If I were a betting person right now, I say Trump is going to run again. I mean, he seems to be setting himself up to do that. And if he's not held accountable, then he gets to do it again. I think that could be the end of our democracy. Not to be too, pointed about it, but I want people to understand that this is a make or break point. If he were, or someone of his ilk, were once again to be elected president, and if especially he had a Congress that would do his bidding, you will not recognize
the world's biggest loser, Hillary Clinton, is sounding the alarm that if Trump wins in 2024, it could be the end of our democracy. That's right. In this video, we're going to take a look at Crooked Hillary's latest drivel. We're going to see how the latest studies confirm that patriots actually want more democracy, not less. And stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal that Hillary is right about one thing. And it turns out she's even more right than she could have ever imagined in her worst nightmares. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I'm your daily fake news antidote. Each and every day, I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, on this channel, we talk a lot about building a parallel economy, what scholars have referred to as a parallel police, where we intentionally support companies that support our values rather than support a bunch of woke corporations. And to that end, I want to give a huge shout out to patriotswitch.com. Patriot Switch gives patriots the ability to walk away from woke corporations forever. Patriot Switch was created to give you the opportunity to shop at family-owned, patriot-owned, made-in-America stores. They're absolutely wonderful. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you love to no longer rely on the big woke corporations? Well, now you can make that independence a reality and transfer your dollars away from companies that despise our values and give them instead to family-owned companies for the future of our country. Thanks to patriotswitch.com. Again, that's patriotswitch.com. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The utterly insufferable, malignant narcissist Hillary Clinton is back in the news again, quite a bit of late. But she turned some heads the other day when she made the audacious claim, which you just heard, and it's becoming commonplace among Democrats. But she made the claim that if Trump wins in 2024, it could very well spell the end of our democracy. Now, of course, she offered no rational explanation or justification for such a comment. She gave no example, no illustration, no defense. She just threw the accusation out there that Donald Trump's re-election in 2024 would result in the end of our democracy. Not a republic, no, to our democracy, which is revealing in and of itself since Democrats are hell-bent on destroying our constitutional republic. Now, at the same time, on the same thing, I have to say, I think Hillary's comments here are particularly cringeworthy, given that the major concern of even many Democrats right now is that the Biden administration has so obviously exceeded its constitutional authority with the manifold mandates that have been handed out over the last several months. So we did a video yesterday on Colorado Democrat Governor Jared Polis, who declared over the weekend, as far as his state is concerned, the COVID emergency is over. The pandemic is over, and whether people are vaccinated or not, that's their choice. So he's not complying with any unconstitutional mandates coming down from the bumbling Biden regime. And what's happening here, of course, with the largely Democrat-initiated draconian COVID lockdowns is happening in spades around the Western world, particularly in Australia, and New Zealand, and Austria. Supposedly liberal democratic nations are becoming utterly Orwellian. You may have seen this from Germany, where police arrested a Santa in a Christmas market because he wasn't wearing a mask. People are freaking being arrested because they're not wearing masks. And I'm not even mentioning the concentration camps in Australia, for heaven's sakes. Now, you'll note that Hillary's got no problem with that. No, let's ignore all of that. Let's pretend all of that is precisely in accordance with glowing liberal democratic society and focus on the real evil, which is Donald Trump. Yes, he's the problem. That's what's going to bring our nation down, not these draconian mandates. No, these are wholly righteous and good, and of course, democratic. Now, what Crooked Hillary is saying here is no different than what you'll read on far-left websites on a daily basis, such as Salon.com, What leftist liberals have basically done is they've equated democracy with liberalism. And so if Trump represents a threat to liberalism, well, then by definition, he represents a threat to democracy, right? It's rather predictable thinking. And it's also quite absurd. Scholars of patriot movements around the world have recognized that patriots are more in love with democracy than ever. But we're opposed to certain aspects of highly liberal democracy. Or to put it another way, we're opposed to the way in which democracy is practiced by our leftist liberal permanent political class. Again, scholars have observed a fundamental difference between the politics of the permanent political class, which is often referred to in the scholarly literature as pragmatic democracy, versus the politics of the people, which by contrast is referred to as redemptive democracy. So you've got pragmatic democracy versus redemptive democracy. Pragmatic democracy is the rule by the establishment according to the values, interests, and concerns of the permanent political class. Values, interests, and concerns that are increasingly at odds with the values, interests, and concerns of the people. This is the version of democracy that crooked Hillary is defending. This is the democracy practiced by the permanent political class. You know, the kind that makes sure crooked Hillary stays out of jail. By contrast, the values, interests, and concerns of the people, the rank and file, the grassroots, patriots, has as a consequence grown increasingly suspicious of the political class. So they, in fact, despise the political class and are working to restore what's called a redemptive vision of politics, where the values of the people become the values of the political leadership once again. And the key here is that the two democracies are mutually exclusive. They operate by fundamentally different value systems. But to say that the Trump-inspired patriot movements, which are growing and rising up all over the world, are anti-democratic is absurd. If anything, nationalist populist voters want more democracy. They want more referendums. They want more empathetic and listening politicians that give more power to the people and less power to established economic and political elites. This direct concept of democracy differs from the liberal one that has flourished across the West over the last couple of centuries, and which has gradually become more elitist in character, and I would argue is precisely the kind of democracy that more and more of the world's population actually sees as a pseudo-democracy. This is not a rule of the people, it's rather the rule of an oligarchy made up of the political class and their cheerleaders in the mainstream Marxist media, as well as big tech and increasingly corporatist globalist corporations and the like. This is emphatically not a democracy that any nation in their right mind will want to have anything to do with, nor should they. And so, as it turns out, perhaps crooked Hillary's right. Perhaps Trump winning in 2024 would spell the end of democracy, or better, perhaps it already has. But before we get into that, a huge thank you to everyone for your kind words about our new Change America initiative. Last week was a great display of patriots coming together to stand for truth, and I couldn't be more proud. We started Change America as a way for everyday patriots to get involved in fighting for freedom with their spare change, supporting candidates, organizations, audits, and more. And as a thank you, my team and I are so thrilled to announce a special Turley Talks live virtual Christmas party on Monday, December 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be inviting some special guests, giving away gifts, sharing some special Christmas stories, and more. So I hope to see you there. And so all you need to do is click on that link below, sign up for Change America today, and join me on December 20th, I should say. Can't wait to see you there. All right, you know, the more I think it through, I think Hillary's on to something here. I do think that Trump represents the end of democracy. But of course, it's the end not of democracy per se, but the end of that very pragmatic democracy that benefits the members of our permanent political class, like crooked Hillary. And I think we're already seeing that pragmatic democracy begin to wane. A growing number of liberal scholars are indeed beginning to panic over the very real threat that the rising patriot movements pose to their style of elitist political class democracy, and this is happening all over the world, this threat. Keep in mind, these are the very same leftist liberals who freak out over parents actually having the goal to get involved in their kids' education, right? So much for democracy. that's a threat to pragmatic democracy, the democratic ideals espoused by the permanent political class. That's precisely what caused the FBI to become weaponized against parents concerned about the education of their kids in local school districts. Bureaucrats, not parents. Bureaucrats will determine what and how your children will be educated, and you're supposed to sit there and comply. Bureaucrats will determine what will or what will not be done with your body, and you will sit there and comply. Don't you love pragmatic democracy? Isn't the democracy of liberal loons like Hillary Clinton fun? You see, this is what they're scared to death about. They're scared to death that more and more populations are rising up and crushing the political order that has been deliberately set up to benefit our privileged political class at the expense of the values, interests, and concerns of the people. That highly leftist, elitist vision democracy is most certainly coming to an end. And so it turns out Crooked Hillary was right. Her dream and the Democrats' dream of a liberal progressive society will most certainly be utterly decimated with another Trump term. The bad news is that the world will certainly end up with another Trump presidency. The good news is that world that's coming to an end will be Hillary's. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on Rachel Maddow absolutely panicking over the Durham Russia probe. It's going to absolutely make your day. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.